The Team Never Quit podcast is sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. Navy Federal has every single tool that you need to dominate your debt. So if you're a military member, a veteran, or a family member, go check out NavyFederal.org for more information today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Team Never Quit podcast. As always, thank you guys so much for listening and watching, and please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button wherever you're getting this show. So today, before we get to our really special guest, let's kick it off with our weekly Patreon question. And this week, we've got, I know this one might get me in a little bit of trouble, but who is the best cook in your family?
I mean, absolutely Marcus's mom. I don't have...
That'd be my mother.
Yeah. It has to be Mama Holly.
My mom.
I don't hold a candle to her. And I would say Leslie is next. I'm third.
Yeah, my sister-in-law is freaking good.
Yeah.
I mean, we come from a family full of cooks, too.
Honestly, I think you're pretty up there as well.
Yeah. You are good. That Alfredo...
Which I learned from Leslie.
Alfredo, yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I can make some like Cajun dishes, like my
both of you.
Crawfish etouffee. Marcus is really good. He can make a mean steak.
Steak, period.
Yeah.
What about you, brother?
Not me. As far as the best cook. No, I like a good steak. My wife cooks great steak.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Who's the best cook in your family?
My wife.
It's still a family wife.
She's amazing.
Yeah. We have Marcus's mom is like all-time home cooking, a whole bunch of butter poured over everything.
Just like it's supposed to be, right? I mean, it's kind of.
Yeah.
She makes a bread too, only during Thanksgiving. We only get it one time a year. It's cinnamon rolls and bread. There's a few things that she only makes one time. There's a prime rib, 20 pounds of freaking goodness that we eat on for as long as it'll stay good. For sure.
Yeah.
That was a good question.
Yeah.
Even turned a vegan into a meat eater.
I did. Yep, that actually happened.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, a vegetarian came to the house and was working here one day
work.
and right and smelled it, and he was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Bro, that's prime rib, man." He's like, "Well, I'm a vegetarian." I'm like,
Mama Holly's prime rib.
I was like, "I don't know, bro, man. I think maybe you might want to give this one a whirl."
It even made a cookbook.
And he did it. Yeah, it made it into
Her
a
prime
cookbook.
rib is in Fox and Friends co-host.
The Duceys.
They're
Steve
amazing.
Ducey.
Yeah, they're great. Isn't that a great family?
Love Rachel
They're
Yeah.
freaking great, man.
and Sean. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're the best.
So Steve Ducey has a cookbook, and he put Mama Holly's prime rib in there.
Yeah, as well. We only get it one time a year. It's freaking good. It's like a
Oh,
gift.
the Duceys.
Yeah.
And then there's the Duffies.
The Duffys
Yeah,
are great
the
too.
Duffies are amazing.
Yeah, Rachel and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rachel and Sean.
Sean.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the best.
Yeah.
They got to try. We got a mess of
9
kids.
kids.
They got to be a good cook.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a good question, man. All right,
Okay.
hey, bro, thanks for coming out and doing this, man.
pumped to be here.
I appreciate it. We got a lot to get into it with you, man. I know your backstory is exceptional and what you're doing now. So we'd like to start with a little bit of a backstory on you. We can. I just want to know where you come from, man, and how you got to where we're at, and then we'll get into the main body of it.
Well, I grew up in Washington, D.C. So as a good young...
Proper
D.C. in the district.
Okay.
In the district. Right
I don't
outside
think I've ever
Georgetown.
met one of y'all.
We're real.
You do exist.
Mean streets of D.C.
How about it?
Yeah, Georgetown. But yeah, in the district, grew up. Interesting to grow up in D.C. My neighbors, I think, were the ambassador from a African country that no longer exists, Zaire, and CIA agents, and disappeared, our neighbors. I mean, it was a very interesting place to grow up.
Oh my gosh.
But was obsessed with politics. I interned at the White House and the Heritage Foundation, and all I wanted to do is work in politics. And went to Stanford, started joining campaigns, and as we know in politics, when the campaign's over, you go into consulting. So work for the two biggest spenders in DC, the food industry and the pharmaceutical industry.
Those are the two big boys.
Pharma spends 4 times more than any other industry in DC.
Because you see more pharma commercials on TV now than you do anything about food.
Yeah, pharmaceutical is about 50% of TV news advertising in total.
Has to be, right?
Yeah, it's about 50% of the many mainstream media like budgets. And in DC, it's the giant. It's 4 to 5 times more than the oil industry, the pharmaceutical industry spends.
Wow.
And not far behind it is big food. So very interesting. This was like 15 years ago, but it was really weaponizing the debate. And I was working on the opioid crisis actually, and I was just out of college, but in the room, it's not like we're doing evil. It's like, well, people have pain. We need to help them. Like, let's figure. There's bad people trying to stunt innovation. But as a junior employee, I was identifying professors, and we were sending research donations and putting them on commissions that got paid to get money to paying professors at Stanford, Harvard, top schools. And we helped and worked with senators and people in the administration to put them on a NIH commission. And they were prepaid. We lobbied to get them on a commission, and the commission said opioids aren't addictive. We have a pain crisis.
That actually happened.
It's very strategic. It's get them money. And the two ways you get the researchers money is just research grants. That's their lifeblood. But just direct bribes. The president of Stanford Medical School at that time, a man named Philip Pizzo, was a pain specialist. And opioid companies, right before he was appointed the chair of this NIH commission.
What does that mean, pain specialist? Like he deals with pain, or he knows?
Great question. That is an official designation.
Talking about like what is that? What is it? Well, now there's going through pain. That's where I'm going with that. Great
question. That is now an official field of medicine. That is like pain studies, pain management is an official like practice of medicine. How did that happen? That happened because years before, the pharmaceutical industry lobbied to make that a specific designation of medicine, to identify pain as a field that should be medicalized, and made that an official, fancy designation in medical schools. And now we have 82 subspecialties. And it is true, the medical system creates new categories. Anxiety was created as a subcategory of medicine in the 1970s, explicitly by pharmaceutical companies who had a Valium to sell, benzos. And anxiety became a diagnosis code. It went into insurance. These are lobbied specifically by the medical industry. And then when that happens, you have esteemed pain specialist, a person at Stanford. His specialty in medicine was pain.
And the opioid companies gave him $3 million in research grants right before he was appointed to this commission, and made him chair of the association, the Pain Council or whatever it was called. And he got paid directly, just direct bribes through that. So on this NIH commission, more than 50% of the people he then selected for it, and who can disagree with an NIH study with recommendations? They had the exact same situation. They were directly paid by opioid companies. So those are the type of things I saw.
How did that slip past the doctors with the Hippocratic Oath? Because let me tell you something. Once it gets to the white coats, and a white coat staring you in the face telling you this is what needs to be done, this is how we do it, you don't really question that.
Right. And that's what I learned early on in DC.
That's like a human condition. Right. The minute they walk in the door, whatever they're saying, like Roger,
right.
you just don't even go against what they're saying.
So that's what I learned in DC is that fundamentally the pharmaceutical industry, the insurance industry, the hospital industry, the industries in healthcare just demonstrably profit from people being sick. And then, mediocre people in DC I was working with have realized when you're thinking about campaigns to help those industries grow, that the most powerful advocate is people in white coats, is a study from Harvard Medical School, is a study from the NIH. But they realize those people are viable.
They're people?
What?
They're people.
Yeah.
They're people.
Mm-hmm.
They're people.
Human being, right?
And they realize, though, that when you have that blue ribbon NIH panel, nothing is upstream of that in medical culture, right? The president can't disagree with that.
Right.
The Senate and Congress cannot disagree with that. When you have the science, then you can't disagree with it. So you were anti-scientific. When this report came out in 2010, 2011 from the NIH, you were anti-science if you suggested opioids are potentially, somewhat addictive, or saying we shouldn't be mass prescribing opioids. The literal, what was downstream of these recommendations is that we have a pain crisis and we have to treat it.
Okay.
So that was a very important fact that we learned. And then just finishing the story, I guess, it goes to putting the pieces together. I got out of there. I didn't fully put it together, but it was dark. I went to business school, met my wife. We started companies. I was out of this for over a decade. But my sister was the star of the family. So she was at Stanford with me, but she was biology, Stanford Med School. She became a surgeon. Oh. And she shocked the family because she was crushing it. She was getting the best, reviews towards the end of residency and doing really well. And she sat our family down and said, I need to leave. I am seeing darkness. We are fundamentally incentivized for people to be sick. She had some experiences. One of them was a patient. She did head and neck surgery. So they were so inflamed in their sinuses. They knocked him out in front of her, and, she cut their face open and took out the remnants of their sinus inflammation. And she did this, day after day after day. And she realized that every single patient below her knife had an average of 8 other comorbidities, was seeing other doctors. And she never talked to those doctors. They never had diabetes, depression, heart issues, seeing all the other specialists. And she was reprimanded for asking some patients, well, what about food? What about exercise? What about some root cause interventions to get to the root cause of your inflammation? And she was reprimanded by her attending surgeon saying, actually, one of them said, don't be a pussy. You didn't go to nutrition school. You went to med school to do serious medicine, which is cutting people open. So she saw that darkness and put together the theory that, wow, everything she's doing is tied to inflammation. Everything she's doing is tied to metabolic health. 90% of medical costs are on chronic conditions tied to these fundamental oxidative stress, these fundamental, root cause interconnected factors, but she learned nothing about that. At Stanford Medical School, she didn't take one nutrition class. Not one. She didn't learn nothing about nutrition or anything about how the body's interconnected. You choose silos. These silos are created by the forces I saw in DC. We've siloed the body, siloed medicine, because it is profitable to isolate something, cut it open, pill it, but it's not solving the root cause. So we put our heads together as we kind of started talking about this and had a situation with my mom's abrupt death, which really shined a light onto the problems in the medical system that she saw. We wanted to talk out about this because I do think we have a cultural crisis right now where we're the sickest country in the developed world. We have the sickest kids in the world. 38% of teens have prediabetes. 50% of teens are overweight or obese. There's a mass suicide, depression crisis.
There's definitely something going on.
And something's going on. And it's deeper than like a healthcare policy problem. We're not respecting something more sacred right now. We're not understanding the interconnectivity of our body. And we believe a big cause of that is that there's so many good people in the medical system, but it's demonstrable that the medical system profits off sickness, and that's led to really bad outcomes.
Are the doctors that said that opioids weren't addicting still around?
He's still a professor at Stanford.
And is it viable to say that we absolutely know that opioids are addicting now?
Yeah, over 100,000 people, I'm sure.
Has anybody brought that information to him?
To die. Yeah, it's unbelievably arrogant responses that, he's an esteemed member of the Stanford community right now. His actions led to millions, hundreds of thousands of deaths.
Yeah, so I never messed with that stuff till I got injured. Mm-hmm. When I was in my weakest moment laying on a hospital bed and they shoveled that stuff into me. And then if you don't know what's coming in there, it's just like, hey, just take this, fine. And it's not when you're on it. It's when you're trying to get off of those damn things is when it becomes a problem. And I've been trained to be mentally tough and to take pain and all that stuff like that, but it's a different kind of weirdness that goes on with that. And the longer you're on it, the harder it is. Matter of fact, I didn't know this. That sucker will shoot phantom pains into you. It'll make you think that you're hurt. I'll never forget coming off that stuff.
Brain's a crazy thing.
It does, man. And I was like, man, I know that I'm good. I'm not injured, but I still have the pain. It was my body putting me back into those symptoms to try and get that stuff. Which I'm not going to say it doesn't. Like we need it. Like when you get hurt, when you're laying in the hospital bed, surgeries, by all means. But we got to figure out that medium spot.
There's people that need it, and this is what makes it complicated. But absolutely, those guidelines led to an overprescription crisis. And to your point about the brain, there's a ton of research now showing that pain is very associated with our brain and mental health. There's a lot of research how actually more root cause interventions for chronic pain, and even the brain-body connection, people doing Ibogaine and curing themselves of pain. There's a lot of research on that that's totally ignored. So these guidelines led to a mass overprescription crisis. And I think you're hitting, though, on his respectability and these people knowing whether they're bad. I think that hits on the mass problem that we're trying to unwind right now. And I guess just to move the story along a little bit, my sister and I wrote a book. We started sharing content. There was an energy to this message, and a number of leaders and elected leaders reached out. So we met with over 100 members of Congress and senators just through DMing us on Twitter as we were kind of on this campaign. And then folks from the Trump campaign reached out, and I shared information with them. At the same time, the president was talking about some of these issues in chronic disease. And then I got to know Secretary Kennedy. And through this advocacy, when President Trump was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, I helped connect.
How about that?
Him and Secretary Kennedy, and was just honored to see that relationship blossom, and have been helping to this day. And I'm at the White House now. And I think that union represented what Casey and I saw on a micro level with our book and the reaction to it. There's a clamoring to figure out what's going on. And what we're trying to do is square this circle, because right now, the smartest people, some of the smartest people in the country, are these esteemed doctors, professors, and they're held up as heroes for existing in the sick care system that produces these terrible outcomes. At Harvard, the top obesity doctor, who's heralded at award ceremonies on the media, she says obesity is genetic. Because she's paid by the maker of Ozempic, and she's actively working to make Ozempic the first line defense for 6-year-olds who are obese. She's saying that, and that's held
before
up
by PE and diet and
before
sports and all.
She said diet and lifestyle is pseudoscience, that it's a genetic disease, and we have to jab a child for life with Ozempic, with GLP-1s. As early and as aggressively as humanly possible, because this is a chronic condition. So of course, that gets to who's paying her. If you can make obesity and that the standard, and tell people it's not your fault, and jab them because this is a lifetime drug, that's a profitable patient. So there's a clear financial interest. And then still, she is seen, and these doctors are seen as like the serious science. And then people like my sister, who talks about diet and lifestyle, are seen as pseudoscience crackpots by the elites in the media, which is funded by these industries.
Which is crazy. I mean, if you think...
Has that always been legal to do that?
What?
The doctors and the pharma's buddying up.
Like paying...
Doctors in the farm. Yeah. I mean, this has exploded in the past 20 to 30 years. But it's not even just the direct bribes from pharma, which are huge and a huge part of their budgets to doctors. It's that for that doctor themselves, for their billing, if that doctor has a child in front of them, right, who's 6 years old and obese, if that child is incentivized to learn, healthy habits, be out in the sun, eat healthy, exercise, that child is not in their office. But if that child becomes dependent on this drug, they have to come back to get the drug. It's like SSRIs. This is a key thing. The pharmaceutical industrial complex fuels the overall medical industrial complex. SSRIs, which is the backbone of psychiatry right now, 25% of women are on some kind of psychiatric drug. That produces recurring appointments, recurring prescriptions. They're associated with many other side effects, so that they come back for more. So we're on this treadmill. that not only helps pharma, but it fuels the insurance, the hospital visits, the doctors. It fuels everything else in the medical system. We have an interventionist-based system.
And humans by design have an addictive personality.
Exactly. And it fuels into addiction. I mean, some of these drugs are very addictive, like the benzos. And
then you get on one of it, gives you a side effect, so you go and they put you on another one to deal with that side effect.
Well, yes. So SSRIs, which one most widely prescribed drugs, antidepressants, one of the key side effects is weight gain. So now psychiatrists are prescribing Ozempic, the GLP-1s, with the SSRIs. But there's a black box warning on GLP-1s and Ozempic for suicidal ideation and depression. So they probably have to ramp up the SSRI prescription. There's a once you get on this treadmill, there's a whack-a-mole. The other problem with our explosion of chronic disease.
That's not a treadmill. That's a wheel. It's that freaking hamster wheel, man.
The other problem, and I think this has been the great failure, and it has been an utter abject failure of the U.S. medical system to treat chronic conditions. If you have a gunshot wound, if you have a burst appendix, complicated childbirth, something that's going to kill you right away, something that's going to be a threat right away, an acute issue, the medical system, I would say, is a miracle. That's amazing. Oh, yeah. Those are most medical miracles. An antibiotic for an infection, an emergency surgical procedure. I'm sure things you saw on the battlefield, and in the military. It's
trauma. Trauma. Yeah, trauma.
But that is 5% of the medical system right now. I think one of the problems with this chronic disease treadmill that we're trying to unwind with Secretary Kennedy is that if you let's take a statin, right? Everyone takes statins for high cholesterol. The message from the medical system is that you're taking action, you're doing something. But if you take that stat and then continue to eat crap and not exercise, you're going to get more disease. And that's why all these pills have increased in prescriptions, but we also have exploding disease rates because we're not addressing the root cause of what's making us sick.
What you're dealing with is lazy humans.
What?
Lazy people. Because it hadn't been trained on that. And I get that because you said it earlier that the doctors aren't nutritionists. Mm-hmm. So the doctors are actually doing their job. The patient's coming in there and like, hey, I got high cholesterol. As a medical drug doctor, this is what I have for you. But they're not changing what's causing that. And then they're also not qualified to tell you how to change that.
This is what we're trying to unpack. You said it right there. They're a medical drug doctor. Right. Who made that rule? If you asked any American on the street what is the job of the medical system to treat, to reverse and prevent disease, to keep America healthy, that's what they'd say yes. But you're exactly right. But that's just an ingrained assumption. A doctor is a medical drug doctor. They're a drug prescriber. Who made that rule? That's not quite how it is in other countries. I agree. There's a pull for humans to be lazy. There's addictive impulses. But we live 7 years less than the Italians. 7 years less. And I always say, you look at the Italians, we're not lazier than the Italians. We're not genetically inferior and want to kill ourselves more and die earlier. That's a big gap. There's something wrong with the incentives. And my point and what Secretary Kennedy's pushing on is that it's a free country. People should be able to take their drugs, like eat crappy foods, smoke, drink, whatever. 100%. Like it's not about that. But we're incentivizing people to get sick. We incentivize and recommend crappy food and sedentary lifestyle. And then the medical system, which is the largest industry in the country, only kicks in with that pill, with that management. We don't reverse and prevent. If the medical system, theoretically, we spend $5 trillion a year, was working to incentivize and educate and inspire people about getting to the root cause, with that 6-year-old who's maybe on Medicaid, maybe lower income, instead of doing the Medicaid-funded Ozempic, which is $1,000 a month per child, helping them with healthier food, we might look a little bit different. It's the incentives, it's the recommendations, and I do think people want to be healthy and are just not getting the right education.
Oh yeah, sure. Once you get in there, it keeps you in there.
Yeah, so that's where you have to unwind, because I do think it's an existential issue. I mean, the DoD just came out, 80%, up to close to 80% of young military-aged youth are not eligible to enter the military right now because of chronic disease and depression. So we do have a high-stakes issue right here.
Yeah, well, that poison you're putting in your body and that sugar and that gets you depressed. Your body is depressed. Mm-hmm. I mean, right. Your body is depressed. That's what's happening. Like your spirit can still be in there, and you talk to me like, "Oh, I want to get well." I'm like, "Well, that's the inside of you want to do that, but your body's been corrupted." And when you say incentivize to, like, imagine if we gave you a tax break if you were healthy, like if you worked here, if you come in here on tax day and bust out some push-ups, or if you had this, Americans would jump at that.
A PT test.
It sounds out there, but it really, these are the type of ideas and the type of big thinking we're doing now, because tax day, 28% of our budget, 28% of our spending is on healthcare in the U.S., the federal budget, 28%. Defense and intelligence is about 10%. So we are spending more. We are spending more just to manage diabetes, just that one condition and associated.
And which type of diabetes?
Type 2, which is food. Type 2, which is caused by. So we are spending more as a government to manage diabetes and associated conditions than the entire defense budget. So it's gonna, and it's faster growing. The defense budget is like this. Healthcare is like this. So truly, the ideas like that are the only way we're going to curb the budget. It's out of control right now.
So what are some things that you think, or that you're working on with Secretary Kennedy, that actually can make huge changes, like waves in our health system?
I can rattle them off and can talk about whatever one you want, but first and foremost, and I'm about to rattle off a lot of policies, but I want to say what I think the biggest accomplishment is that Secretary Kennedy and President Trump have normalized and opened up a conversation around, America about something being wrong. And I think that's really important, because we are just giving our kids the wrong thing. We've been misled. 70% of a child's diet's ultra processed food. It's 15% in France and Spain. And actually, I've seen stats in the last year. Snacking has gone down 7% in the last year in America. People are reading food labels more. They're spending more on food. Actually, disease rates for children for the first time in 30 years are starting to tick down just in the past year. So I do think there's a cultural awakening happening with this whole MAHA discussion. And I hear from moms all the time that they're actually thinking more about food, talking to their school about better food, about more recess time, things like that. So I really do actually think this public health awakening, which I think this is a cultural issue first and foremost, is something I think the Trump administration, I think Bobby Kennedy, I think we should all take great credit for. Now, that has to happen in the next years. This continued cultural awakening. The market needs to change so that our farms change, our medical system change. I think that's on track. This is a big issue. It's changing the U.S. healthcare system and the U.S. agriculture system, which I think is very tied. So we're just trying to get as many wins as possible. It's not going to solve the whole thing, but wins. So here are a couple. We have reformed the food stamp program. That's $120 billion we spend a year on food assistance for low-income people. The number one item on SNAP food stamps was soda. The number one item. So we're funding soda for lower-income people with tax dollars. We have worked with the majority of U.S. states to take soda and candy off of SNAP. That's something the food industry never wanted. Number two, we're working to remove food chemicals that are banned in Europe and other countries from our food. These food dyes we talk about, but this is petroleum-based food dyes in 60% of children's food. It's oil, it's crude oil. That was talked about for decades. The FDA.
God, that's got to be making you sick too, man.
Yeah, of course.
Swelling and totally has to.
It's totally. It's not a silver bullet for everything. But this crap, crude oil, is in all of our kids' food. I mean, it's a huge problem. We've been talking about it for 2 decades. We've worked. The FDA threatened action, but the food companies across the country are voluntarily doing it. We are about to release nutrition guidelines, and this is very important. So we all remember the food pyramid in 1992.
I was just about to say, we used to have that in school.
So you had the food pyramid in 1992, one of the most destructive, violent documents to American health in history. It had the carbs at the base because they were bought out by the sugar industry, and it had meat pie. They said meat was bad, saturated fat is bad. So it's saying eat a high carb, low fat, healthy fats are bad, meat is bad. But carbs. And that led to an explosion of carbs in the U.S. diet and all these metabolic conditions, and disease rates skyrocket after that. Not only a cultural impact, because all of our parents, I grew up in the 90s, my mom thought it was right. So we had all the crackers, had all the carbs, had all the processed food. It had a cultural impact. It also has a huge monetary impact, because the dietary guidelines by law dictate what the military food is, and dictates school food and a lot of other government programs. So there's legacy of that food pyramid to this day, to where saturated fat is still marginalized. So that's a ploy by people that do grains and carbs to basically demonize meat so people eat more grains. I was talking to some soldiers. I don't know if you saw this. Maybe it was different from the SEALs, but on many military bases, they really can't serve a lot of steak because it doesn't fall within the dietary guidelines. They have a lot of vegetables, which aren't bad, but it's just like, give the soldiers some steak.
Yeah, bro, we had steak for every meal.
You might have got
freaking meal.
The SEALs might have got an exception. I've heard mass complaints on military bases that they actually are really low in protein.
Well, then we eat good.
Yeah, I think they probably. They were technically breaking the law following the dietary guidelines. They probably don't mess with you guys. Military bases across the country, there's mass complaints about lack of protein because of the dietary guidelines. So anyway, we're going to release new dietary guidelines, which are, going to correct some of these problems. Another thing the dietary guidelines do is they say added sugar can be a healthy part of a 2-year-old's diet. We actually recommend added sugar to 2-year-olds. And that has a lot of implications. So we're going to fix that, which is going to have a lot of issues. We're going to have front of pack food labeling. That hasn't been reformed in 20, 30 years. We're going to actually know what's in our food. So we're knocking out a host of wins like that to change incentives, but to also start waking people up. But my main goal right now is that we win. We keep this MAHA coalition alive. It's moms, young people, independents who didn't, I think, ever consider voting for President Trump, but did because of this issue. We want to keep them in the coalition and work with our friends in Congress and the Senate and around the states. They're doing incredible things here in Texas. Bobby Kennedy and I were just here 2 weeks ago for some big bill signings. We want to just keep these wins, keep this momentum up.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So are y'all going to actually redo the food pyramid to go in schools?
There's going to be, I'm hoping for a big launch. It's due this year, and it's one of the things I'm most excited about.
You got to redo the films too. That you sit down and with that guy with the voice, right? And he'd sit there, and this is what you need to have.
Right.
And when you walk in the supermarket, the label just needs to have a strip right across the front that says good. Just make it simple.
I like that.
You know what I mean? Just and the bad ones don't say not good, but the good ones just say good right across from it. So you can just sit there and throw it in your basket.
Green sticker for good, red sticker for bad.
And the difference between military lifestyle, athlete lifestyle, and everyone else, that absolutely changes up your carb intake and your protein intake and how you're trying to regulate your body because of what you're doing for a living. There is that happy medium, that happy balance. It even talks about it in the Bible. Mm-hmm. I mean, so when you're out there and you're whatever lifestyle you're trying to do, and it switches. I'm dealing with that right now, bro. I hated I was born small. Mm. I couldn't consume enough. And now I'm having to deal with the fact that now I understand why people are like, oh, diets are terrible. I'm like, oh, suck it up. And now I'm on one. And now I'm having to deal with all this. So I was like, now I get it. So with the calories and everything, of course, the apps that we have and the technology is fantastic.
Yeah, there's an optimistic story. I think the apps and the, understanding our bodies more, Bobby's a huge fan of the Yuka app. I mean, there's so much patient empowerment happening. Everyone's waking up. I think we've got we're in a dire time. I think we've got a positive story, but we got to wake up.
I think that's what Americans roll like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know how we are.
You got to have a crisis to.
Yeah, man, you got to slap us around a little bit, and then it's when we get hit, you take that good pop, right? And everyone goes down to that knee, and then like, okay, you got my attention.
That's
now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, our book was originally called, my sister and I were getting on this issue and drafting. It was called, we titled it A Sick System, and it was basically a diatribe. And the editors were like, nobody likes to read a, pessimistic sob story. A, that doesn't sell, and B, we started thinking about it more. It's like there is a dire situation, but America is good at correcting, and they have podcasts, and my sister and I went on Joe Rogan and all these podcasts and talked about this, and it's like, you don't do this in China, go and podcast and bash the system and everyone's voting. It's to me, there actually is a very good thing happening where we're waking up. That's the good thing about our system. We do sometimes get to the brink. I think we are at the brink on our healthcare.
Here's the deal. Life moves fast, and for a long time, I just kept saying I'd get life insurance eventually. One day, I finally just thought, what if something happened tomorrow? That's when I finally checked out Fabric by Gerber Life. Fabric by Gerber Life is term life insurance that you can get done today. It's made for busy parents just like you. You can do it online, on your schedule, and right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes, no health exam required. It's super easy, and now I've got a real peace of mind. If I'm not around someday, I know at least my family is protected, and that's really what matters. And if you're relying just on your job's coverage, that may not be enough, and it probably won't follow you if you end up leaving. Fabric is backed by Gerber Life, trusted by families for over 50 years, great options, affordable plans, and even digital wills and tools to help you invest in your kids' future, and you can do this all straight from your phone. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric. Apply today at meetfabric.com/TNQ. That is MEET fabric.com/TNQ. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company. Not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions.
But there's a lot of optimistic things happening. And our book is now called Good Energy, because it's like, we do think it's a good story, that we can get this turned around.
Well, it's another great thing about America is our people road tested on themselves.
Right.
It's like with the cold tub phenomenon. Like when we were going in the SEAL training, man, they put us in the cold water for torture, and you're like, this sucks. But in reality, they were doing it for a reason, because he'd beat you all day, and then they throw you in the water, and that's why the injuries we had were minimal. And
you should have just had the mindset in that cold.
If they'd have changed it like that, it'd been a hell of a lot easier. Now people just go do it for fun. But it's like certain groups of Americans get into these practices, and they're like, hey man, this like breathing.
Yeah.
How important that really is for you. That cold and then the hot, the changing and the dynamic of that. And absolutely the fuel that you put in that. If you tell yourself that your body is a race car or it's a fighter jet or a monster truck, man, what kind of fuel you putting in that sucker, right? And if you put sugar in the gas tank, it will screw your engine up.
What's crazy, when we wrote this book, we had a number of discussions with the editor. I wanted to really be, a piece of art and, full narrative. They're like, you got to put tips in. You got to put shopping lists. I'm like, that's so stupid. Like, that's so basic. And every person that I meet that's read the book doesn't talk about the beautiful prose. They talk about the practical tips. And I do think there's just a clamoring for knowledge and what to buy. And it's crazy how much of a problem this is and how much information's out there, but people don't know what to do. And even what you just said, just the simple fact, like our body is a machine. Like we have all these problems, we're having fertility issues and depressed and can't sleep well and anxiety. It's literally, I feel like we're on a radicalization mission to make the simple point, like things are connected. And that is like something when you finally get it, you can't unsee it. And it's like, this isn't pseudoscience or this isn't fluffy stuff. It's like, if you're shoveling bad stuff in our body, if we have, this is complicated, right? But if, there's obviously so many external environmental factors with the chemicals everywhere. That's not like we should ban all chemicals or, everything in this room is made of chemicals, like in modern society. But it's like we should be more aware of just like there's a lot of inputs coming in with our phones, with social media, with all this stuff. It's like it's impacting our hormones, it's impacting our cells. We shouldn't be Luddites, but we should be aware that like these modern conveniences have a impact on our health. That's it. That's basically the bottom line of why we're getting sick, and we need to ameliorate and understand what's happening.
What do you think is the single most important thing a household could do?
We lay it down on food to simple principle of if you can get seed oils, processed sugar, and processed grains out of your house, that gets you about 80% there. I mean, it's so simple, but that basically gets you to mostly to whole foods. I mean, with our 3-year-old, we try to have low glycemic fruit, but like berries and stuff. But like, I don't really care how much fruit or sugar gets in the fruit. I mean, he can slam blueberries all day. Your body has natural signals.
That's different.
Yeah.
And the stats are just crazy. It's like he would have to eat like 8 crates of blueberries to get the sugar in a big orange juice, right? Which is totally condensed. So it's like you can't even, and it's got fiber too. So
And you think when you drink an orange juice is good for you?
Yeah, orange juice is terrible. Orange juice is terrible.
I mean, that's why I'm a victim of that. Like
yeah. It's literally, yeah. I mean, there's different debates on it. I mean, it's probably slightly better than a Coke, but it's liquid sugar. You do not want to drink calories. Yeah. So if you can cut seed oils, processed grains, and processed sugars, I think that gets you 80% there. And then, then if you want to go step 2, what are you searching for? You're searching for protein, you're searching for antioxidants, you're searching for fiber. You want to see food as a hunt for, cutting the bad things and finding and having curiosity about what your cells need to thrive. Another thing I'd say is I am a big fan of these functional medicine blood tests. I have no relation to this company. It's a good friend, Mark Hyman, started it, but Function Health or companies like that. I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but with Function, you can go in and it's a big discount on all these tests, but you go into a blood center, you drink a lot of water, and they take a ton of blood, but you get 100 different tests, and then you get a full readout. And everyone that I know that's taken it, and myself, you put a little roadmap together. You have some vitamin deficiencies. I had, after the COVID vaccine, a low-grade autoimmune condition. It went away, but that was interesting. You've got, actually, it gives the ratios of your cholesterol levels and really breaks that down to much more specificity than a doctor would do, so you know whether it's good or bad or whether something to worry about. So you get a kind of a roadmap of what you need to attack. And I find these new tools and more blood tests and stuff like that, I find it very motivating that if you know there's a
100%.
problem. A couple of years ago, I had a blood test from maybe 4 or 5 years ago, as I was just kind of getting started on this with my sister. I had a blood test from the regular doctor's office, and it was like, HDL, LDL, triglycerides. And the appointment, they're like, oh, you're good, looking good. And then I showed it to my sister. She's like, you're screwed. And she's like, look at the HDL to triglyceride ratio. Look at this. You're actually borderline here. You're metabolically dysfunctional. So I go back to the doctor. And I say, is this bad? Is my sister right? They're like, yeah. I'm like, why didn't you say anything? Because they have an algorithm, and they literally only say something if it hits the level for a drug. She said, you're not treatable. So, but once my sister said that to me, I was kind of scared. So that was really motivating to try to figure this stuff out and like dial it in a little bit. I think people should be more scared. I think we should have apps and blood tests and doctors telling people like, you are not going to like make it to your like, meet your grandkids, I think actually it's more fear about what's happening, and tough talk from doctors based on personalized biomarkers is a good thing, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the new breed of doctor, be a body mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like if you pull your car into a garage, pull your body into the garage at a certain age, they hook you up, take all the fluids out of it, just like a change in your oil. Right. I mean, when you take a blood draw, a serious one, it's actually good for you, right? Because then you replenish. Mm-hmm. And then not only that, it comes back with your statistics, and then they can program you, okay, this is what we're putting in there. This is what you need to do. And when they word it that way, I remember when I started doing fasting, and then you get the stomach pains, which is your body telling you, it's like, hey, it's time to eat. Not really. When they told me that, that's not what that is. What that is your body cleaning itself. It's like, it's actually going to work on the inside. And when I heard that, it switched it in my head. I was like, okay, that's a good pain. And I was all about it. I was like, oh, you kind of want that to last, but it goes away pretty soon, right after you've been fasting for a little bit. But like, no. You think it's your hunger pain, it's time to eat, but in reality, man, your body's going to work on itself.
That's a great formulation.
And then when you switch pain, my mom had cancer, and she had a double mastectomy, and right before she went to the surgery, I was like, Mom, you taught me how to, talked about working out my entire life. I was like, we're going to go into the gym tomorrow, and then we're going to put you under, but it's going to be like you just worked out chest all day for 2 days. So it's going to be sore for a week or two, okay? But just think, man, you're getting better. Just like when you go to the gym and you rep it out, your muscles are burning. You don't think you're dying. You think you're getting stronger. I was like, the minute you switch the pain in your head, what it's actually supposed to mean, then it changes your whole dynamic. And it allows you to take it. That's what they did to us in SEAL training. Mm-hmm. That's why we can do the things. It's like, hey, man, pain is all a perspective how you look at it.
Such a good point. The other thing you just reminded me of on fasting was I had the similar experience with the pain. And then I did like a 7-day.
How's that?
It was really impactful. I would really recommend as just a mental exercise.
Yes, do it. Absolutely.
People try, or 5. A couple interesting observations. One is that the worst day, and I think this is general, people say this is like days 2, 3. It was actually 4, 5, 6. It was actually fine. You kind of get over the hump because you start burning ketones. And that was just interesting. And then the other thing was,
I realized often hunger feelings are actually addiction impulses. That's because I wasn't hungry in day 5, but I was like stressed. So I'm like just like go to the refrigerator or like go and I'm just like, I'm not, it's like actually just like food is very addictive, especially processed food. And it's very ingrained. It was just for me, it was like an interesting insight. Like it's often just routine and almost like addiction. It wasn't like hunger.
Yeah. Moments trigger that.
Yeah.
Boredom.
Right.
Sitting around TV or the table at a certain time.
Right.
I mean, this thing learns.
Right. Well,
it has its own habits.
And food is, and this is my big thing with ultra processed food. And, the fancy scientists, like the people at Stanford I've been talking about, just tisk. Oh, we don't have enough human randomized controlled diet on this food or that food. It's like, it's all bullshit. Ultra processed food, as a general rule, is a science experiment where the food companies work to make the food more addictive. And there's huge, documentation of that. And it's made to hijack our evolutionary biology. If you just have whole food, again, that's developed and we've evolved to have synergy with that food. We're not going to overeat broccoli or grass-fed steak, but the processed food is made for us to overeat.
We travel a lot. When we go overseas, we were in Greece and Italy here recently, and the food is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I ate more over there than I do here, and I lost weight.
Right.
And I felt awesome. And then when we got back over here, the minute I started eating, I ate the same thing. The minute I got here, I could feel my body slowing down. And then I started to ache in my joints and stuff like that. I'm like, and they have blue zones over there. I mean, when you were saying they live longer, they do. Mm. I mean, Americans, we like to go hard and fast and diet.
We fell in love with Sardinia.
Yeah,
so.
Sardinia especially.
I went there this year too.
Yeah, we loved it.
Trying to be the ambassador there one day. But, and the bread too. Just the bread and the olive oil. It was, granted, it gets older faster, but I mean, so what? You get fresh bread every day. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why can't we have that here?
Yeah.
So in Italy, they spend 2 times more of their income per capita on food than we do.
Okay.
But they spend 4 times less per capita on healthcare.
So it balances itself.
Yeah, it actually saves them money because we spend so much on healthcare. So in the U.S. right now, we spend about 6% of our income on food, and we spend close to 23% on healthcare. Okay, so it's kind of flipped in Europe, and it's funny. I was just been looking at the stats. In 1940, in the U.S., we spent 25% of our income on food and 3% on healthcare. Okay, so I do think we have a cultural reckoning we need to have about our soil, about our respect for food, about our connectedness to food, that is clearly much more pronounced in some of these European countries. The pride they take for their farms is just so ingrained. I mean, in Italy and France.
We could do that here.
I think it's happening, but it's that simple. We have to have a national conversation. Now, economically, that's obviously what we should do. I mean, I always go to children. Think about a child who's poor. They have SNAP. The food stamps, 70% that goes to ultra-processed food. We're the only country in the world where the low-income food program can go to junk food. So on SNAP, you can buy Twinkies, Oreos, Coca-Cola, ice cream. It's crazy. This is to subsidize. What if that's $120 billion? What if that just, boom, could only go to whole food? That would actually be a big subsidy and help farms. School lunches are a disaster. School lunches are mostly ultra-processed food. You could connect them with local farms. So these are the type of policies we're working on right now and executing on. But I think we're ripe for this cultural awakening, and we do over the next 10 years have to deflate the healthcare budget and inflate the respect for farmers. People argue there's cultural elements to, obviously, France, Italy, they have long food cultures, but I think we can get that back, but it's a big national conversation. What hardens me is that people are being are being awakened. The major food company, the processed food company stocks, despite the market being up the last 2 years, have all been tanking. Americans are choosing to buy less junk food right now, and the market's kind of demanding better options. So I do have hope, but that's what needs to happen. They respect food more. They respect farmers more, I would argue.
Americans can shift fast.
I think
we hadn't been around that long.
I think we're on the verge of mass food
shortages because we have a very nimble or very, I think farmers are facing a lot of heat right now, and I think we're on the verge of a health collapse. I mean, I think the country, and that's this kind of MAHA moment, what Bobby Kennedy's tapping into. I think we are getting close to the brink. So I think we can do it.
Well, like I said earlier, man, that's Americans. We get there sometimes. We go as far down each rabbit hole as we possibly can before we turn around, just so we can find where the balance is. How you gonna find the center unless you've gone on both sides of it, right? And that's slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And the way the Americans, when they adopt, I mean, COVID we shut this place down overnight.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And we all did it. We all, I mean, when you said something and when it was unanimous, we're like, Roger that, we'll make it freaking happen. There is nothing we can't do, Americans. If we all get behind, I don't care what it is. Everything down here is a human problem. And the minute every American's like, fine, we'll do that. You want to do that? Fine, let's get it done. And it will. We got the people for it. That's the one beautiful thing about this place, man. They're hidden somewhere. They're kind of doing their own thing. But if something shows up, it'll get fixed.
Hell yeah.
You just got to push us. I don't know why we're like that, but...
Is there a country that you've seen statistically that has it right? The food system itself and healthcare system?
Yes, and I'll get to that. But I do want to just say, to your point, I wouldn't trade our system. I wouldn't trade where we are to anyone, as bad as it is right now, because this country, Japan, I'm going to talk about, I think has some cultural things I wouldn't want to emulate too. I mean, I don't think they have as much of what you just described. So maybe some of this goes hand in hand, but I do think there's a lot to learn from in Japan. They live 10 years longer than us right now. 10 years longer than us. And
they look good.
Yeah, they look good.
You know what I'm talking about? They look good forever. It's like, it's just like the weirdest thing. Japanese are just like, they always look good, man. Good for you. Yeah. I mean,
but they live 10 years longer. And you dig into some of their systems. They have a lot of cultural, I think maybe less tension, which is good sometimes and going to lead to the change here, but they have just uniform pride in school lunches. So it's like a national, like non-negotiable. It's like 4 courses. It's like they've got the fermented food. They've got the perfect, meat. Cool. They've got the whole food groups. It's like a national thing that they're just meticulous about their food standards. Walking and the blue zone stuff. So they just have a very obviously advanced culture that's much lower on medicalization when it comes to health. I hate to give Europe credit for anything, and again, I wouldn't trade our place with them on much at all. But I think there is a pride in their farms and their food and
olive oil and wine and
like in the daycare in France they have a 4-course meal to a cheese course. I think the cigarette afterwards is optional and the wine, but it'd probably be healthier than what they serve.
To a certain age, then it's mandatory. Right?
But they literally have a cheese course every day for the kids. I mean, there's just a little more pride in their food. And what my sister really, I think, argues so well is just like, losing touch from our soil, our farms, our curiosity about what we're eating and how that's interconnected. I think it's almost a spiritual problem. We're disconnected from our land, and it's a problem. Mm-hmm. And it's almost an environmental issue. Like I don't see. I think it's been so bad the left talking about environmentalism in terms of like carbon credits and like it's like we're kind of trying to reap too much out of our resources and our land and not thinking about the cycles and that's causing real health problems. Our soil is having problems in the United States where a tomato or certain vegetables have 50% less nutrients than they did 100 years ago, or much less than they have in Sardinia right now because the soil is so good. So
that's because of the rotation.
So yeah.
I mean, it's a living organism. You should treat it like it's alive and learn how to do it.
Are there incentives for farmers to do regenerative farming and that kind of stuff? Or do you see that happening in policy to encourage farmers to do that?
Well, we just came out with a big strategy called the MAHA strategy this week with 128 ideas. And this is after robust engagement with basically most stakeholders in the U.S. economy. But I did 100 meetings with farmers. And I think there is a strong understanding
that soil health is really important and there's a concern about it. And a lot of farmers are working on that. There's a revival, or really a ascending of what's called precision agriculture, where actually some robotics and AI are actually going to really, I think, help a lot. I think when you talk about regenerative agriculture, it's, to me, it's less just all in one row, but more diversified, which can have higher output, but there's a big labor component. My dream is actually we see an explosion of innovation, which is already starting to happen, where you have like Elon's robots actually able to supply the labor, and it's really a labor input issue. So I think there's a huge actually opportunity with robots to solve for that labor problem, because that's the biggest cost. And then it talks about the USDA really deregulating their assistance programs, and it's called technical assistance. So a lot of these farmers actually want to transition and want to try more things, and they actually rely on technical assistance and training. And a lot of these farmers are old and want some help, and you kind of got to go in and test the soil, and it's kind of a puzzle each time. So there is signal that we really want to help with that assistance, because there's a lot of chatter around more regenerative concepts happening. So I am optimistic.
I know that's talked about around here. I mean, we live rurally, so we're, in touch with the local farmers, and we get our meat from the local farmers, and we shop at the farmers market in town. So it's definitely something that we're familiar with that probably people that live in the city are not familiar with, but...
Yeah, they just don't have access to it.
Yeah, they just don't have access
Right.
to that.
Right.
But it is an important thing, and I know that any kind of tax incentive would be helpful to local farmers.
We are working very hard on that. And I think, again, we have unprecedented wins. I mean, we're working, hopefully steering hundreds of millions of dollars for school lunches to more local partnerships. Working on training farmers better, working on the incentives. That's all things I think we're making actually historic progress on. The one thing I'll say, though, and I think this is an important public message, is that the market is rigged right now. Somebody buying the food the right way is paying a lot more, and that's because of bad incentives. Yeah. But everyone listening should know the market is what's going to drive change. If you have 5% sales drop in like Lucky Charms, they go out of business. Like these companies are like fragile. And if we change our purchasing behavior, change it to more regenerative food, or purchase more, find a way to buy your meat directly from a local farmer, that is how the world is going to change. And at the end of the day, the market is rigged, but the market has to be demanding. So we're going to try to subsidize that 1,000%, and it needs to be subsidized because it's so screwed right now. But if consumers can keep pulling and demanding where they want, that directs then where the market goes.
Yeah, and it wouldn't take that long either.
No. It's like shifting our agriculture. I see this as a 10-year journey, because there is, time it takes to transition to regenerative and all these practices. But that's what Secretary Kennedy and I talk about a lot. We have a 10-year road we're building.
Yeah.
So
where do you see America in 10 years?
Well, my hope and what we're really pushing for is that our healthcare incentives today, hospitals make money when their beds are full. We want hospitals to make money when their beds are empty. Today, pharmaceutical companies make money when they prescribe more pills to manage disease, not cure. We want pharma companies to be incentivized to make therapeutics that really reverse and cure disease and promote longevity. And we want insurance companies, there's a whole wonky reason why insurance actually makes money when people get sick, but that's what the case is right now. We want insurance companies to be incentivized for people to thrive. And we want, very connected to that, a real rejuvenation of regenerative practices, and farmers continuing to be pulled by the market towards the curve of of those practices.
I mean, just the equipment to sustain the farm is the numbers on are astronomical. I was like, I don't even know how they afford it. I mean, if someone tells you they're a farmer, like how do you do that? Especially like guys who drive the combines and everything. That's a $300,000, $500,000 machine.
If you're lucky, yeah. We have screwed farmers. Farmers are getting that. That's been my one takeaway. We have a real reckoning of how we respect our food and respect our farmers. They've got low prices, high input costs, more weather challenges. trade issues that aren't their fault. I mean, they're taking it from all fronts.
I know for us, I mean, we just have a very small amount of cattle just for us, like for our own family consumption. And because we don't sell it, we don't get a tax break because it's not a business. So, because I asked that about our tax returns, I'm like, is there any kind of break that we have cattle and, we've got the tractors? I mean, that's not cheap.
Yeah.
And they said, well, do you make an income on it? No, it's just for us. We pay out the
give him a
lawsuit
shotgun.
for
We're
it.
going out.
And they said, no. I mean, now property taxes, it helps. But for income tax, there's no incentive at all. So unless you're making money on it. But
I mean, a
it's
perfect world would be the tech that we have, and then go back to the way the farming was, like
That's right.
1950s farm, like where the land was taken care of and everything. But we have our modern tech. I mean, that'd be a
That's right.
utopia right there.
I think we can get there.
Well, thank you for coming out.
Thank
we
you,
really
guys.
appreciate your time coming out here and explaining this to us. And we're excited about MAHA. And
Should we talk about why we're here?
yes, and tell us why you're here tonight in Texas, Americans for Ibogaine.
I am here to support Americans for Ibogaine, and one thing on this MAHA mission, work with Secretary Kennedy, that's been really one of the most motivating and inspiring dynamics is states around the country are resonating with these MAHA ideas and passing state bills. And I've been trying to help however I can. And one bill I was really helping to push for, but it was being led by this group and Brian Hubbard and others, was to shift a bunch of research funding to Ibogaine. And this passed in Texas. Mm-hmm. And a lot of folks, conservatives were like, oh, what are we doing funding drugs? And then they heard stories from veterans and stories of people's lives being transformed and stories about how broken our mental health system is right now. And this passed, and Texas leading the way, and now states around the country are taking on these bills. And when I think about MAHA and the thesis we described and the fact that we really have a reckoning and a cultural reckoning in this country, it actually, I think, first and foremost starts in our brains and starts with our mindset and starts with, I think there's a lot of trauma in this country, obviously, for many veterans, but also for almost everybody. Mm-hmm. And I think if we can have a mindset shift and have a spiritual shift, and really address this problem from that root cause, and realize that our brain connects to so many other health issues. I mean, that's a really important thing America needs to do. And I personally believe that our mental health has failed, that prescribing all these SSRIs has been a disaster, that we don't see mental health, as solving the root cause of really getting our heads around the trauma and rewiring some of our pathways that are leading us into ruts. And I just go by the science. I certainly did have a personal experience that was life transforming for me on plant medicine. But when we do the scientific policy making, we got to go by the research. And I think the research is really, really strong. I think going back to, as we were talking about before, what's serious medicine, what's not, these opioids, these fancy people are saying the research is there, it's like, you can't question it. The actual research is showing Ibogaine and other plant medicines are some of those efficacious treatments to reverse depression and PTSD and other issues. So I think it's a really important moment, and we're going to talk about that tonight with some leading researchers, and I'm excited to see what happens there.
Well, Marcus and I are absolutely the conservative base that would say, why in the world would Texas have a psychedelic bill even being presented to the Capitol? And Marcus was one of the leading veterans on that panel doing the testimonies, because he did suffer from the addiction to the opiates and alcohol. And
I've road tested every other thing they got online. Just says that it'll fix you. Every one of them.
yeah.
And my buddies, my teammates. And the minute they put that stuff in me, it changed everything.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I have a problem with people calling ibogaine a drug. It is absolutely a medicine, because I've heard a lot of people say, well, you're just swapping one drug for another. It's not true at all, because you don't do ibogaine for the heck of it, and you don't just take it every day. It's not a pill that you
if you got to get a subscription to something every month and it has to show up, or you'll die if you don't take it, that's a drug.
Yeah.
Here, take this and this, that, and the other, stay on it forever. That's not what this stuff is.
Medicine.
It's there's a difference.
It's a healing medicine, and
It's the first time I'd ever been healed on anything. When they put that stuff in me, and I knew what that felt like when they say, well, this is actually fixes you. And I now I know what that actually feels like and what it does to you. And it's completely different. Completely different. I'm not saying we don't need that other stuff. We do. And we need the doctors to prescribe it. We need the doctors to facilitate somebody going through that. But not just getting them on it and turning and just being like, just keeping them on it.
well, there's definitely something to the length of time they tell you have to take a pain pill after surgery. You know, they'll say you have to take this for 14 days or whatever, which is the length of time you need to get addicted to that medicine. Like, there needs to be some sort
Almost to the
of,
exact day.
yeah, there needs to be some shift in that.
Maybe 7 or 8 days.
Yeah, however long it is, we don't know, but there's something to that. And ibogaine is a real medicine that is healing people.
I mean, the science and the statistics, they show one thing. Man, wait till you see the person, and they'll tell you. I mean, when they come out of it, and it doesn't even start on you when you put it in there. It comes in later. That's the best thing about it. It just keeps going.
The system is built for drugs, not medicine right now. Drugs are profitable. Healing is not profitable. Thriving is not profitable. Fear is profitable. Hope is not profitable. So I think this represents something very, very powerful. I think, according to the science and almost every patient testimony, it's a profound example of what medicine could be, which is getting to the root cause. And I tie it, very closely to how I think about food. It's like, let's hold these things up as real medicine at the center of medicine. Let's hold our farmer up. Let's hold really understanding the root cause of our trauma up instead of masking it. It's really, really important. And I think light is shining through, and we're fighting really hard to see, continued change in the next couple of years.
Well, I'm excited. Thank you for leading the way on this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tell Mr. Kennedy we said thank you too.
Yeah.
Will do. He's a great guy.
Awesome. Thank
Great
you.
job. Thank you.
This is the Team Never Quit podcast. So buckle up, Buttercup.